Hey everybody, it's George Whittam reporting for Whittam's World. And this week we've got a question that came in about telephony. Here it is. It came from Janet Gauss. And it reads, I read that you should always set the sample rate at 8,000 if recording phone messages. Is that true? That is a great question to lead me into introducing a guest who knows more about telephony and IVR than anybody I know. And that's the IVRqueen.com herself. Liz De Nesnera is with me today. Here she is. Hi, Liz.
Hey, George.
You're my first ever guest on Whittam's World, actually.
Yay! I'm honored. Totally honored.
It's great to have you. I wanted to have an expert to answer this question instead of me pretending I know what I'm talking about, which I don't. So when she's talking about 8,000, of course, she's leaving off a part of that. It's probably 8,000 kilohertz.
Kilohertz, yes.
But explain why these weird sample rates are used. We normally record audio for professional use at 44.1 kilohertz, or we record at 48 kilohertz, but she's talking about 8 kilohertz.
Right.
So why is that?
So here's the thing. First of all, the answer to her question is no, don't record in that initially. Telephony basically came into being when it started really with the banking industry, where they were spending a lot of money having people call up, asking for their balances, and had customer service people asking, what's my balance? How much money do I have left over? And finally, the banks were like, we're wasting a ton of people time here. How can we make this a lot more efficient for us? So they created really the first large IVR, which by the way stands for interactive voice response.
Thank you.
That's what IVR stands for, which basically you're interacting with a phone system. So they created these, but they created these 20, 30 years ago before MP3 was ever invented. And WAVE was around, but the files are huge. And as you know, 20, 30 years ago, computers could not hold that much space. So they created these very small audio formats where the file size was really small. And basically what they did is they sacrificed quality for size. So 8,000 kilohertz is a sampling rate that is used for a lot of the formats. It's small enough to be understood. It doesn't sound great, but it's good enough on a phone system to be understood. So there are a lot of different formats. There is MULA, which is 8-bit 8K, 8,000 hertz. It's a MULA format. It's another type of codec, another type of algorithm.
That's the Latin symbol mu.
The Latin symbol U. So when you see U-law or MU-law.
I'll put some graphics on the screen for everybody to see.
There you go. It's the same thing. So if you hear somebody say U-law and MU-law, it's exactly the same thing. There's also what's called CCITT, MU-law wave, which is a different type of MU-law. What I always tell people to do is always record in the highest quality. I generally do all my recordings for telephony in 16-bit 44.1. Mm-hmm. So you've got a good baseline. You do all your recording in that. You do your editing. So you have your final files. And then you downsample. Okay? Now, there are two reasons for that. One is, and this has happened to me over the years. I've been doing this long enough where, okay, you initially send files to a client in CCITT MULA wave, which is 8-bit 8K MULA wave. And then they come back 3 years later. And so you've recorded 1,000 files for them. Okay, you've recorded the numbers 1 to 1,000 or 1 to 500. You've recorded the days of the week, the months of the year, numbers in rising, neutral, and falling inflection. You've got all these files. They come back 3 or 4 years later saying, oh, we've upgraded our system. We need another format. Well, if you recorded everything in this low format and then they want a better format, you can't upsample. You can downsample, but you can't upsample. So you can actually go ahead and re-record all those 1,000 files. And yeah, sure, that's going to make you more money. I understand that. But what I generally will do for clients is I will say, gee, I actually have your original files and I can provide the new sample format for you.
For a service fee, perhaps.
For a fee, but it will cost you less than if I had to re-record everything. And actually, you get paid maybe half the cost, but it'll take you no time to convert all those files as opposed to having to re-record everything.
Can I ask you what you like to use to do the file conversions?
It all depends what format. So, for example, if somebody wants, there's another type of format called the Vox format, which is 8bit8k.vox. 8bit8k MuLaw Vox is a format, and there is a piece of software out there called Vox Studio. You can actually, the company actually is out of Belgium, and it's called Zentech, XENTEC.com. They're a company out of Belgium. They're great. That is my go-to piece for the legacy formats. And that's really what this is, what we're talking about here, is there are still a lot of companies that are using what we refer to as legacy formats.
Yeah.
CCITT being one of them. CCITT, however, can be converted in SoundForge. And so if you have SoundForge, you can absolutely do it. There are a couple of other formats. I think Adobe does it as well. That I'm not sure of, but there are a lot of that's a more common one. And again, it's a better quality.
Yeah.
You're still going to hear hiss, and you're still going to, if you play it through your computers, you're going to be like, this sounds awful.
Right.
And it's not, and what's happening is eventually these legacy formats are going to go by the wayside, because MP3 is basically really small, great quality. Okay. But when you're talking about huge banks, huge corporations, they have hundreds of $1,000s invested in these systems.
Yeah.
They're not going to change them right away.
No. They're still running Windows XP. Most of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know what? The thing is that again, their main concern has always been the size of the file. That's really what their big thing is. It's the size of the file. Quality has always been secondary. As long as it's understood, people want to get in and out of those systems anyway. They don't really care.
That makes a lot of sense. I did not know about the bank thing. That's really interesting.
That's really that's where it all started, because there was a study that was done years ago. I mean, I'm talking maybe 20 years ago, that they actually did a study of how much it cost them. It cost something like $4.25 to have someone answering all those calls. If you routed people to the IVR system, it cost the bank $0.25. So you're talking $4 per call that they're saving by having these IVR systems. And that's really where it started. It started in the banking industry.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. I'm glad you made mention of the fact that you should always record at the full quality and keep that.
Always.
And I think that really was the gist of Janet's question. So,
yeah, absolutely. Because it saves, you're going to look like a hero to your client if they ever come back. And also you have the flexibility to convert to a lot of different formats. And it's just and honestly, if you're recording thousands of files, it's a lot easier on your ears to be doing that in high quality.
Do you process your audio in any particular way for telephony, an EQ or anything?
I don't. And the reason is that when you're already downsampling and it's getting processed so much, I would rather have as clean a file, unprocessed a file as possible, because it's already having so much done to it. I don't want to do something else to it. And again, I'm not like you. I'm not an engineer. I don't want to mess with it too much. So I generally record at -6 dB, so that it peaks at -6. So you've got a good volume of a file. Anything less than that, and that's not going to be great. I mean, I've had some people send me files to convert that are at -18.
Yeah.
That's really low. So, I generally tell people record at so that it peaks at -6, and you'll be fine.
Excellent. Well, it's really kind of you to guest with me today about telephony,
That's
Liz.
Great.
Thanks so much. It's been fun.
You're very welcome. It has been. This is great.
Well, it's great to have Liz. I hope to have more guests like Liz, and in the future, as questions come along that are better answered by specialists, professionals, experts, just like Liz. So I'll be doing that on future episodes. If you have a question that you'd like to have answered on a future Whittam's World, send it in to whittamsworld@edgestudio.com, and I'll be happy to answer it. If it's better answered by an expert, I'll go find the right person and bring he or she on the show in the future. Thanks a lot for watching. VOstudiotech.com is the home for all technology. If you'd like to call in, it's 212-868-EDGE or 3343. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next Whittam's World.